What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday. Hopefully everyone is doing well, having a great day so far. Hopefully your Thanksgiving was great yesterday. It is time now for the Friday weather update for Friday, November 29th, 2024. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is where I do daily weather updates for all things weather in the United States. We talk about tropical weather, severe weather, winter weather, drought, and everything else in between. Today we are going to talk about all the different regions of the United States and what expected weather there is over the next 7 to 10 days. We're looking at a much quieter pattern, but there will be a few blimps and bumps here and there that we need to talk about. First off, if you're new to my channel, subscribe down below, give this video a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and leave your comments down below. Already taking a look at the national picture on satellite, which is starting to go to sleep for tonight, and we can see it is rather quiet. There is this boundary that still exists in the southern portions of the United States across Florida. It is just now exiting the coast of South Carolina. It is starting to exit Georgia. It will get hung up in the Gulf of Mexico, and part of this is the reason why there could be maybe a few showers in a few days from now across portions of the Gulf Coast for Texas. You also see, as the sun starts to set, there are clouds over the Great Lakes. That is a result of cold winds that are pushing over the Great Lakes. These cold winds are producing lake effect snow squalls, snow showers, and even lake effect snow bands. You will see that here on the national radar picture. Take a look at this. We do have numerous snow showers and snow squalls that are ongoing across all of the Great Lakes this afternoon, and some places are really seeing the snowfall add up. We do have areas of rain across Florida with that boundary that is in place. That is expected to continue through the evening. It will eventually clear, maybe tonight, and a few occasional showers could linger as we head into tonight. The rest of the country is rather quiet. We do have this weak disturbance east of Los Angeles. As you can see here, not much fanfare with that. There is this disturbance, which is weak, across Iowa and portions of Missouri. It's not very strong, but there'll be some more moisture that does form with this. I'll show you that on the models, and that will be in the form of snow. The rest of the country, yeah, not much going on at this time. National Hazards Map. We do see this in the south, and that is freeze warnings, frost advisories, freeze watches. Yes, it is going to be very cold, and a hard freeze is likely across the coastal portions of North Carolina, South Carolina, southern Georgia, southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, portions of Louisiana, portions of Arkansas, and even eastern Texas. It is going to get very cold in this area tonight. Now, we also see on this map winter weather advisories for portions of Illinois and Missouri. That is that system we're watching. I'm going to show you several different models for that because some modeling is impressive, some says not going to be much of anything. Then, of course, we do have the lake effect snow warnings, winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories still up along the lakes. That is because snow is expected to continue. The winds will continue to support snow showers. All right, taking a look now at what is going on with the Storm Prediction Center, a whole bunch of nothing. Taking a look now at the Weather Prediction Center, here's the precipitation over the next 1 through 7 days. You do see these precip maximums over the Great Lakes. Those are areas that are going to see heavy snows. Additional 1 to 2 feet is likely in several places, localized areas such as up in western New York, northwest New York. You could see more than an additional 2 feet of snow. Take a look at this precipitation amount over the next 7 days, and you do see oranges showing up. Yeah, that's 3-4 inches of precipitation. Translate that to snow. That's multiple more feet coming for places like Watertown, New York, and maybe even Oswego, New York, Erie, Pennsylvania. You could see at least another foot of snow. Portions of Michigan and portions of northern Michigan and Wisconsin too, but really not that much for you. We're not looking at much in a way of precipitation over the next 7 days, just a few flurries. Then you do see a little bit of precipitation across portions of the Midwest, in portions of Missouri and Illinois. That is that system that we're watching for this evening, and that's not the only system. There's a couple showing up on the models. Let's get right over to the NAM and take a look at that. And we can see here in the NAM, the lake effect snows will continue. That lake effect snow machine will continue through at least Monday. But take a look at this as we head into Saturday. Yes, this Clipper disturbance does really start to get going in Missouri and portions of Illinois, and it will even push into the Ohio Valley. A few inches of snow is possible with this system. But look at what happens on Sunday. Another disturbance gets going across the northern plains. That one kind of really just fizzles out and eventually falls apart. You can see here, snow squalls, snow showers continue even into Tuesday, though not as widespread. Now let's switch models for a second. I'll take you over to the GFS model and take a look at this. Here's the GFS. It also shows that storm system, or that weak Clipper system, I should call. Shouldn't say storm system. It's not much of a storm. It's just a Clipper system over portions of Missouri and Illinois. It will make it into the Ohio Valley, but you can see the precipitation is more limited on the GFS, and I'll show you that. When we take a look at total accumulated precipitation, we can see here, GFS is just showing 2/10 to maybe 3/10 of an inch of precipitation, versus the NAM. Check this out. The NAM is actually showing localized half-inch amounts. Well, if you get localized half-inch amounts, and let's just say it's a 10-to-1 ratio, you're talking about locally 5 inches of snowfall across portions of northern Missouri and central to near central, we'll call it, central portions of Illinois, and maybe even Cincinnati, Ohio, if the NAM is right. 1 to 2 inches of snow could happen for you. Some modeling is suggesting maybe coatings to a dusting with this system as it goes across the Appalachia Mountains and comes over into the Delmarva. I'm not 100% sold on that. The majority of the moisture will get eaten up, but if any moisture does survive, we could see maybe some flurries there tomorrow night into Sunday morning, and maybe a dusting would occur. All right, back to the GFS. Let's continue on here. We do have to talk about other parts of the United States as well, so I'm going to rewind us. Take a look at Florida. You can see it in Florida here. Here's that boundary. The boundary pushes south, but it kind of stalls in the southern portions of the Gulf of Mexico, and eventually some of that moisture does try to come backwards and push into Mexico and portions of southern Texas. And you can see here, a little disturbance does get going by the time we get into the middle of next week. And we'll have to keep our eyes on that. It could produce some beneficial rainfall for portions of southern Texas. Something else we have to keep our eyes on. The middle of next week, there is indications on multiple models now that a Clipper system, an Alberta Clipper system, is going to come out of Canada and push over the Great Lakes and eventually make its way to portions of New York and Pennsylvania. Mind you, 126 hours out. Historically, with Clipper systems, their tracks can waver a little bit to the north, a little bit to the south. So we will have to keep our eyes on that. But should this signal continue to show up, I think we could be looking at our first maybe accumulating snowfall amounts for portions of some of the New England big cities, maybe even New York City, maybe even Philadelphia. We could be talking about the first dusting to coatings, and wouldn't surprise me if places away from I-95 get 1 to 2 inches of snowfall. I know, big deal. It's not a big storm system, but it would be the first accumulating snow of the season. And we can actually go to another model. Let's go over to the Canadian model. It is showing up there as well. And you can see the Canadian is a bit more north. There's questions to where this is going to track. If it ends up more north, places like Philadelphia and New York City, sorry, you will see absolutely just about nothing more than a few flurries. But if it does make its way more south, well, then that's something we would have to watch. But there's another wild card in the mix. If it does end up more north, there would be an Arctic front, and along that, we could see the threat of snow squalls late next week along that front. You know, as the front would push south, you can see here in Acadia, it does push south, and there could be a squall line, maybe even, of snow squalls. But that's a mesoscale event. That's late next week. Let's take a look at the European now as well, and I'm going to show you several things on the European. We're going to go further out in time with the European. And on the European, here comes that little disturbance for tonight into tomorrow even. Not much moisture with it on the European. The NAM is the most bullish model, which is showing those isolated higher amounts. We'll have to see what happens. It depends on how much warm air advection sets up with that system, which is warmer air above going over to colder air, which generates moisture. If it's a little bit more impressive and there's a little bit more lift in the atmosphere, you could get some more moisture with that system, and you could potentially get the amounts that the NAM shows. So it's kind of a toss-up which way that is going to go if you live in Missouri and Illinois. Now, advancing this further out, here comes our Clipper system right here. You can see it up here in Canada, coming out of Alberta, and watch what happens on the European. It really gets a little bit more impressive. Look in Pennsylvania. That's some light to steady snows. I mean, the mountains, the Laurel Highlands, and West Virginia. You do get a pretty decent snowfall with that, and you can see here even some accumulating snows come into places like Philadelphia and New York, at least for a couple hours, enough that it would coat the ground, and well, it would be your first measurable snowfall of the season. But look what happens behind us. The lake effect snow machine does get going once again. I mean, you can see here, this is a strong area of low pressure over the lakes, very windy conditions, and by the way, during this whole period that I'm talking about, generally quiet on the west coast with temperatures slightly above average. I'm not ignoring you, it's just I don't have much to say for you right now. The second the weather starts getting active again on the west, we will go right back into like we did last time when the atmospheric river was going. Right now, it is going to be a quiet period for you. The only place that we are still watching for potentially a rainfall threat would be northwest portions of Washington as we head into late next week. And you can see here, the Euro is not all that impressive with it. And also, here's that disturbance down in Texas. Again, the Euro is not all that impressive with that as well. But what we do note here is there's another front that comes through late next week I was talking about. Some of that moisture that retrogrades back to the north does get worked up into that front. So there could be a shower or thunder shower threat late next week across the southern states, and that would include Florida. But again, nothing impressive with that. In the longer range, yet again, another round of moisture does build up in southern Texas, and hey, you do need the rainfall. And we also note in the longer range, look at this, another Clipper-like system in the northeast. So in a nutshell, what are we looking at for the next week? We're looking at generally slightly above average temperatures in the west coast and below average temperatures in the east and the northeast, with just any snowfall threats will be coming from these Clipper systems, and mainly the Great Lakes has the best shot of seeing any snowfall. If I took things out even further, eventually we may get a little bit of a warm-up as we head into the following week. It'll be short-lived. I think there'll be another trough, like the European is showing here, and other modeling is showing, that comes down in the middle portion of December. So the first half of December is actually looking below average in the east, which is different from the last several years. Let's take a look at the Climate Prediction Center now. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Below average temperatures in pretty much all of the east, generally east of the Mississippi River. The west coast, above average temperatures for you. I mean, enjoy your dry break, especially if you're in places like Oregon, even Washington, we'll say. I mean, it's less impressive now for any rainfall for you. California is looking dry. I know Southern California really needs the rainfall. You're not going to see much of anything over the next 6 to 10 days, as the Climate Prediction Center is showing. Here's precipitation now. Well below average precipitation out there. You can see just above average precipitation for portions of Texas and slightly above average for the northern plains. A lot of that will come from these Clipper systems. There's going to be a couple of them. And we can also see here below average precipitation in the northeast. This is not a major snow setup, despite how cold it is going to feel. It's mainly going to be cold and dry. Taking a look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, see below average temperatures in the east and above average temperatures will continue in the west coast. Again, like I said, I think we're going to remain in this cold in the east, warm in the west for at least the first half of December, with really, for much of the country, no major storm systems. 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook shows slightly above average precipitation in the south and up in the northern plains, slightly below average across the Ohio Valley, normal in between, and below average precipitation in the west coast. And with this quieter pattern coming up, we may take a few days off from doing these updates, but we'll see what happens. There may be some international stuff that pops up, and if that happens, well, I'll do videos and talk about that as well. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Friday weather update. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, hit that notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and of course, leave your comments down below. that does it for today's weather update. If you're traveling on Sunday, safe travels. For the most part, for a lot of the country, it should be generally a good travel day. I will see you all again tomorrow on Saturday. I'm sure we'll have something to talk about tomorrow. Until then, have a fantastic Friday, everyone. Thanks for watching.